We will never have, I just don't foresee a future where these companies, especially with the current loose regulations or the lack of regulations that make even more money, are ever going to turn around and recognize that they are creating tremendous pain and allow the current governments to take action against them, any sort of regulatory action against them. I think if cigarettes were invented today, yeah. All right, we're gonna do the exposing the gambling epidemic from the rise of gambling that's taking place. One of the issues that I obviously yell about quite a bit. Let's take a look.
Has changed. It used to be you'd lose your money on slots in Vegas, but today, not only can you do that, you can also bet on your favorite sports team, on the opening coin toss, on this individual pitch, or on all three in a parlay. You can do it from your phone, your tablet, your Apple Watch. You don't just have to gamble on sports. You can gamble on esports, on video game items, on slots with those items. You can do it in Roblox or on regular stocks, on meme stocks, gamble with calls, gamble on earning calls, gamble on calls with earning calls. You can gamble on political events, world events. You can bet if Zelensky's going to wear a suit before July, if Jerome Powell is going to say inflation 50 or 60 times in September. And you don't just have to gamble on that. You can gamble on crypto coins, Trump coin, Dogecoin, Fartcoin. You can gamble on the champion of Fartcoin coin, and you can gamble on any of the posts the champion of Fartcoin has ever made on whether they will become popular or not. And if none of that's your cup of tea, you can also just gamble directly within your banking app on a game of roulette, like a gentleman. And don't even get me started on the ads. If you turn on sports, esports, podcasts, not even my favorite political show is safe.
Shout out to Prize Picks, the best app to fire on sports in the game.
You will be bombarded with gambling ads by every famous person you've ever heard of.
DraftKings.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
Uh-oh. How did we get here? And is it a good thing that we're turning every spare moment of our lives into a game of chance? I'm betting no. There are three things responsible for gambling becoming more mainstream, but the first and biggest trend is simply the mainstream becoming more like gambling. See, Silicon Valley learned a decade ago that gambling mechanics are incredibly good for user retention, so they put them everywhere. Let's say you're shopping online. Well, now you can spin a wheel to unlock prizes. Or if you're playing video games, you can open a loot box, get some randomized items. You can even use those items as virtual currency in a casino we've made a 3-part series about. Or maybe you don't have a problem with loot boxes for adults, but we've also put them in kids' video games because, gotta start them young. Roblox is the largest game for minors, and they are stuffed with randomized loot boxes. But even if that's fine for you, what about the third-party websites which, against TOS, allow full gambling based on a kid's game? And yes, there are actual kids gambling on these apps.
Right, I just won a bit of profit there. I had 200 Robux. No, I had 200 Robux in profit, 100 Robux in profit, but I lost them. But I had 50 Robux and I lost it, and I thought I got 50 Robux again. So on this, mine's on Robux World, what I'm gonna do is buy 40 crates now. No, not 40 crates, but like 44 crates. That looks good. Let's go. Let's go. We're in profit. Let's go.
It is absolutely disgusting to see that. And look, I spoke to an insider who worked on this website, Roblox Wild, before it got shut down. He shared data which claimed they made $5,000 a day, or roughly $2 million a year. Thankfully, this website got shut down, but third-party gambling sites still persist because copying casinos makes a ton of money. And that's why we've been putting it into everything, including our politics. Prediction markets are the answer to the question of what if we could YOLO on election results and world events. The biggest websites are Polymarket and Kalshi, which have exploded in popularity during the American election cycle.
And they are straightforwardly getting promoted. And I can't tell if this is like a direct deal that they have with CNN and whatnot that is like an undisclosed ad or whatever the fuck's going on, but they're getting promoted and normalized by CNN. Harry Emden is literally going to Polymarket and Kalshi. I think Kalshi more so than Polymarket. Whenever they talk about like analysis, it is a horrifying reality that we live in, where virtually every facet virtually every facet of our existence is dominated by gambling. Everything. It's so pervasive, it's so fucked up, and it's yet another glaringly obvious example that our administrators, our government, our regulators do not care about our well-being at all. Gambling has such a corrosive influence, and yet for some reason there is no restraint on this side, none whatsoever, and it's basically left up to the individual. And I say this as someone who is also operating a media company, I guess, if you want to call it that. And like, there have been so many opportunities for me to just make a fuck ton of money that I have just personally refused to do so. But why the fuck would anybody else? Why the fuck would anybody else turn down millions of dollars in ad funding from one of these companies? Just no way.
But it isn't just major.
And the more pervasive this stuff becomes, the more normalized it becomes, and the less there is an incentive to even say no to it, because at a certain point, even your audience is not going to look at you weird if you do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. That's it. Dude, this is awesome. Look. I just talked about how I turned down $1 million in a sponsorship for Poly Market, right? On election day. And this guy goes, you did take that one gotcha game sponsorship. Like, this is what I mean. This is also what I mean. 57-month subscriber. You're right, dude. I'm actually a hypocrite. I'm actually pumping fucking advertising for gambling. Why the fuck do I need LSF when I got literally my own fucking 57-month subscribers in here doing this exact same shit? Yes, I do take video game sponsorships. I notice ads baked into Fear and is a little weird, but I totally get the bag. Honest question, isn't stocks just gambling too? Yes, but I'm not even going to get into that. Doing marketing doesn't mean you promote gambling. No, if I did marketing or promotion for a direct gambling company, yes, it would mean that I'm promoting gambling. This is true. I do not. And even when I took on the Chinese game sponsorship, I didn't even know that there was a gotcha component associated with it at all. Don't read chat about this, man. K Bono, literally. Yeah, I know. This is
events that attract bettors. I was recently asked to investigate whether this was a suit that Zelensky was wearing. Why? Well, the prediction market had bet $200 million in betting volume on this bet, and some of them were really mad that...
Yeah, speaking of prediction markets, yesterday, a poly market bet ended. Will HasanAbi Piker get arrested by October 31st? There was a literal bet on whether or not I would get arrested. And there was apparently like $32,000 that people had actually dumped into it. It's the dumbest fucking bet of all time. Wait, are you playing? This was serious? Yes, that was a real fucking bet. I mean, the odds were obviously not in favor of it, but please behave. I got 200K riding on you until 2027. Yeah, look. HasanAbi arrested by October 31st. $341,000 in volume. This market will resolve, yes, if HasanAbi is arrested between October 8th and October 31st, 2025, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. There was a yes at 3% chance that these guys unironically put money into. What the fuck are we doing? What is this? Imagine the dopamine hit from being right and making the money. One can hope. Should have dumped like 100K on yes, like an hour before 11:59 p.m. EST and made like $5 million by getting arrested over some pity shit. Yeah. I'm so mad. I was trying to win something, but you didn't get arrested, shaking my damn head. I just like, I don't know. I think it's like, this is a sign of devastation. I think this is bad. I think this is bad. Okay. controversial opinion. I think this level of gambling is bad.
They decided, no, this is not a suit, I guess. Whether you think it is or not, the volume of betting here is insane. And one reason for that is because these companies are exploiting loopholes that allow betting even in states where normal gambling is illegal. Because these companies say they're not a casino, so they don't fall under the same rules, which is why instead of having to be 21, you can now gamble at 18 on prediction markets. And while there have been legal challenges to this, both of the major companies, Kalshi and Polymarket, have recently brought on the president's son as an advisor, making it hard to see how they're gonna be meaningfully regulated. Meanwhile, all the major betting apps are busy launching their own prediction market copycats to get around the same weak rules that we still have regarding betting. And don't even get me started on the other loopholes that are out there. Have you ever heard of the TikTok of sports wagering?
This is Cheddar. We're building the TikTok of sports wagering. Legal in 20 more states than DraftKings. Accessible for 18 to 21-year-olds. Live, in-game, micro betting. Swipe to predict every moment of every play.
I'm going to stop you right there. If you missed it, Cheddar is a new startup trying to combine DraftKings, TikTok, and Tinder features into one app. And one of the things they brag about is they're allowing 18 to 21-year-olds as a competitive edge. Guys, can you believe the untapped market of teenagers for gambling? Now, to be fair, Cheddar has not launched yet, but this is obviously the future we're heading towards, turning everything into a maximally...
Dude. Everything is dog shit. Cost of living is exploding. People can't even dream of a better future. And then these different platforms are basically saying, oh, by sheer virtue of luck, you can potentially get some disposable income. That's what they're selling you, right? And it's also a deeply addictive version of entertainment. And they're increasingly gamifying and I guess turning into gambling every single facet of existence. And not a single person thinks this is bad. Like, I am not guided by religious morality in any way, shape, or form. Okay? I have my own vices. I also enjoy gambling on my own time. Every now and then I do it. But I think there needs to be severe restrictions and severe regulations around this sort of stuff. And I also can't understand how people don't look at this and go, this is cyberpunk. Like, this is the future dystopia that we envisioned. It might even be worse because we don't even have the cool technological advancements. All of the advancements are about extracting what remains in your fucking wallet at the end of the month. Or saddling you with even more debt. Selling you a dream that you could potentially prosper, knowing full well that you never will, and you will just have a lifelong crippling addiction. It's so devastating. I can't imagine the harm this causes on developing brains as to just be around most drugs. Plus, it ruins your credit. Yeah. It's just so sad, dude. I don't know. I don't know what to say. And I feel like I feel so lonely criticizing this stuff too. I'm glad that Coffeezilla made this video, but like by and large, because a lot of the guys that are in the sphere of entertainment that we're in only simply care about like making money, you can't really even have a conversation about this sort of stuff and be like, yo, don't you think this is bad? It's kind of like with Saudi Arabia, right? Like, I told people not to take the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia money, and they were dropping fat bags a couple of years prior. And I explained to them why it's bad. And nowadays, that conversation is not taking place any longer because they've already bought so many institutions. They've already purchased so many normalizing factors at this point that they can engage in sports washing and no one even looks at it the same. Like the last marginal remainder of institutional scrutiny or social pushback against doing that sort of thing is just gone. You know? It's just gone. How is Saudi any different than China? Brother, I'm not even talking about people flying to Saudi Arabia. First of all, that's a ridiculous comparison to make. And secondly, how Saudi Arabia any different than America is a better comparison than China in this circumstance. And secondly, there's a difference between getting money directly from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to promote the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and like whitewash a lot of the fuck shit that they do, as opposed to literally just going to Saudi Arabia on your own volition if you want to do so. Okay? But it's that kind of thought terminating, hypocrisy fishing, stupid ass counterpoint that also allows people to feel comfortable about this as well. That's what it is. It's another one of those like, I don't know. It's just that everything sucks. I don't know how else to broach the subject here. But yeah, it took around like half of a decade for Saudi Arabia to overcome the scrutiny that they were receiving. I do sometimes feel like, I mean, this is not materialist thinking, I guess, or I guess it kind of is, but capitalism does have a tendency to erode whatever moral compass we must even have, because when everything is directed towards getting the bag, when everyone is primarily focused on getting the bag, it's like no amount of fuck shit that you do, no amount of harm you cause is unjustifiable, because it's like, it's because ultimately you're doing the same thing. Everyone is actually doing something in the morally gray area. And there is some truth to that, for the record. There is some truth to that, because obviously there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? However, like, you should still try to do your very best, right? You should still try to do your very best. That's what I advocate for, at the very least. Like, if you see someone trying their very best in spite of the odds, like, you should support that person. And yet, I feel like we do see people trying their very best under these current circumstances, and we think that those guys are fucking weird. Those guys are somehow cynically doing this to promote themselves, that they're lording over their sense of morality over us, the unwashed masses who have to make ends meet. And there is this like very weird, immediate negative reaction towards people who just go, we must improve society somewhat. I see that so much, even within the working class. It's kind of sad that vice signaling has taken root in our collective consciousness, where we just think like, oh, if someone is signaling a vice, that means they're honest. They're a real one. They're free. Just like me. It's very deep cynicism. You know? Yeah, it's the Matt Christman Zen fascism rant, where he talks about much of the modern right taking joy in the cruelty that powers first world hedonism, and I feel like it perfectly describes the moment that we live in, for sure. The future is going to consist of Palantir-backed companies that combines your prize picks boards to a TikTok-style UI that feeds you AI-generated porn, just truly full dopamine blitzing alienated workers who feel no escape from the crisis of rabid capital eating away at the social fabric. Yeah, like, this was somewhat discussed in my conversation with Sagar, who obviously hyper-focuses on stuff, who obviously hyper-focuses on the vices, and I'm not the type of person who thinks like we need to, abolish these vices or whatever. But it is pretty crazy to me that like everything has turned into a casino. Everything. Because a casino is the maximalist version of what takes place in the stock market under capitalism, right? It's just the dopamine blitz is very real. You're a worker. You go to your shit job that you never thought you would actually work at. You had dreams of something higher, something more impactful that you were going to do. But obviously, you had to put that dream aside. Why did you have to put that dream aside? Well, because you went to college. And in the process, you took on $200,000 worth of student loan debt. And now you have to pay those debts because college is over. So you take on this bullshit job that you don't actually like, or you have no autonomy, right? And you are losing your sense of purpose in the world. Part of the reason why you're taking on this job, aside from paying that student loan debt, is so that you can have a roof over your head. 50% of your salary is directly going to your landlord, okay? And you have no control over that process either. You have no assurances that your rent might not just skyrocket at any given moment once your contract is up. So you just go to work, okay? And then maybe you have a little bit of time for yourself on the weekend. And in the little bit of time that you have on the weekend for yourself, you want to max out on the fun. And there is an endless, vast network of porn and gambling, and maybe some drugs as well on the side. You don't have to fly out to Las Vegas to consume this stuff. You don't have to fly out to Las Vegas to enjoy these things. You can now do it from your phone. It's in your pocket at all times. The very same device that allows your boss to basically control you after your workplace, to demand things from you, to improve your productivity, even outside of work hours, is also the very same device that you rely on to max out on your dopamine receptors and fry them. Everything's computer, everything's casino. Boring, been there, done that. Boring, stay at home and read the Bible. I mean, that's another fucking opiate, but we're not going to get into that. It's just slowly but surely, you lose autonomy. You lose control over your life when you think you have control over your life. The reason why you do the gambling stuff is because you think maybe one day I'll hit it big. Maybe I'll hit it big in the short term so I can have a little bit more disposable income. Because that's usually the entry point, right? You don't start the gambling because you're like, oh, I heard that it actually is very fun when you are constantly trying to figure out whether you're going to win or not, even though that is how it works physiologically or psychologically, sorry. It's the anticipation that is giving you the rush of adrenaline. That's how they hook you, rather. But the initial purpose of it is because you think, oh my God, maybe I can make a little bit extra money so I can buy beers for me and the boys. You know? And that's what it is. Have you never gambled? If so, did you enjoy it or hate it? No, I gamble from time to time. I have a very strict process for how I do it, but I do it at a casino. I do it in Las Vegas. Okay? And before you say, oh, well, you're rich, so you can do it in Las Vegas, I have to do it at home on my phone. First of all, I can also still do it at home in my phone, regardless of my current financial status. And I was doing it when I was broke, too. I do not engage in sports betting, no. And the reasons for why I don't engage in sports betting is because I'm not interested in it. I'd be shaming my friends that gamble and call them parlay goblins. That's actually a good take. It's a commodification of hope when employment and income is disappearing. Yeah. The strict process. What's my strict process? Ask Yahya Sinmore. My strict process is I have an amount of money that I am willing to spend that I set ahead of time. And obviously in my current situation as someone who's like an influencer and whatnot, like I get comps in general. So I adjust the comps to however much I'm willing to spend. But even before then, even before I got comps and shit like that in Vegas, I would always have like whatever amount that I had that I would spend. And if it goes out, if I'm done, I'm done. If I win, then great. If I don't win, then I don't feel too bad because I was like, this is money that I'm basically lighting on fire anyway ahead of time. That's my method. I think a lot of people need to understand that no matter what, okay, no matter what you plan to do, you need to allocate it ahead of time when you have a sober mind, okay? When you're not in the gambling environment and the gambling mindset. You'll never hit it big like that. I know, because that's the whole point. Because I see it as a form of entertainment, that I'm willing to burn capital on. And the amount of entertainment I derive, whether I win or lose, is dictated ahead of time, okay? The reality of the matter is you never gamble to fucking win. You're always going to lose. Always. Unless you own the casino. And even then, you can still lose if you're Donald Trump, who bankrupted a fucking casino, which is crazy.
Addictive gambling product.
It's sports wagering with the pace of a slot machine.
Yeah. Isn't that the most dystopian thing you've ever heard? We're trying to turn sports betting into...
What does Hasan think of Coffeezilla? He is my GOAT. Undisputed champion.
To slot machines. I mean, the funny thing is this whole product is built around yet another loophole called a sweepstakes casino. And that's
how do you wrestle being pro-sex worker in a system that uses sex workers in the most vicious ways to hook the working class into remaining servile? It's the exact same principle that I have for gambling. I'm not in favor of the abolition of gambling. I'm in favor of heavily regulating gambling. I am never going to be an advocate for the abolition of any vices whatsoever, the prohibition of any sort of vices whatsoever. Okay, it doesn't work. It's dumb as fuck. And I'm not saying that I'm like anti any sort of dopamine receptors getting tickled a little bit. Okay, it's fine. These are some of the joys in life. I'm a normal fucking human being. I'm saying that if left unchecked, this is what you get. This has always been my attitude. Yeah, regulation, or at least in the interim, decriminalization is something that actually helps sex workers. The issue is that there is, due to a lot of strict criminalization around this stuff, there is a tremendous amount of not just regular exploitation that you see in the normal workforce under capitalism, but horrifying crimes that take place, okay, where consent is destroyed in the process. Sex trafficking or violating people's consent beyond the point that they are comfortable with. It's just horrifying. That's what happens in sex work, and which is part of the reason why the conversation always falls apart, because people go, well, that's like you're in favor of sex trafficking. No, I'm not. It's precisely the opposite, actually.
They get around the 21-year-old age requirement. Here's how it basically works. Sweepstakes casinos claim that you don't actually need to purchase anything to play, so it's kind of not gambling. In fact, you can get free coins to access their games, but they also have a second currency which you can...
Abolition is a generation's long goal. No, I'm not in favor of vice abolition anyway. Like, vices can spice up your life. I don't have a fucking... Like, I don't want alcohol to go away either. Like, it's crazy. While there are obviously many negative consequences, like, it would be incredibly boring if we literally created a society where there were no vices whatsoever. It would be fucking insanely boring. It doesn't work anyway. Historically, people have tried prohibition. It literally doesn't work, okay? All it does is make this, all it does is create this like robust black market that is filled to the brim with criminals. Bro hates fun. He's a leftist. No, I'm a pro-fun leftist. That's probably my number one difference from the way leftists present themselves online, I would say. The point is, so those vices are not like, the addictive vices are not life destroying, okay? Or significantly life altering. The point is to improve material conditions so much so that like it doesn't matter. Where you can just do it for fun. Everyone should replace entertainment with Marxist theory. Really mad. I don't understand. It's kind of funny for me to say this because, like, by all metrics, I do live a fairly monk style life in terms of like the vices that I even allow, albeit marginal, are very limited. Okay. I mean, I just explained to you guys what I did last night. Instead of going out and engaging in debauchery, what did I do? I went to bed early because I wanted to wake up early to work out. Okay. I unironically lived the lifestyle that these fucking fake manosphere dipshits promote. That's what's so funny about it. Like I do live it because it gives me joy. I find joy in it, for the record. That's the reason why I do it. But that's not for everybody. That's not for everybody. It's not, you know? I'm a years-long YouTube watcher, newer chatter. I just saw your stuff about Omar Fateh and just wanted to let you know you helped radicalize me, and I've knocked on 2,000 doors for Fateh in the last months. It's exciting here, and he has a chance. Minnesotans, please come help us door knock. Thanks for covering the race. Hell yeah. Thank you for your work.
Buy. Well, not buy. You get it for free when you buy the worthless coins. For example, their website says if you buy 100 cheddar coins, you get 5 bonus cheddar cash. And that's usually what you can gamble with and redeem for real money. This is actually how Stake US works. If you didn't know, Stake International is one of the world's largest casinos, but they aren't allowed here in the United States. So they have an American arm, which is a sweepstakes casino, which has gold coins and stake cash. One Redditor explains how the loophole really works. Quote, one stake cash is 1 USD. They only use gold coins because they need to say that you aren't gambling with real money to stay open in the US. Except, of course, you are actually gambling with real money. They just have a virtual currency workaround, which basically everyone has figured out. Some casinos are just kind of more honest about it than others. Cheddar's basically saying the quiet part out loud. They're going after 18 to 21-year-olds with TikTok, Tinder, sports betting at the pace of slots. And by the way, people are betting on their success. They're actually in a cohort of startups invested in by a Silicon Valley investment firm called A16Z. But if you think that's a bad idea, now let's talk about banks and gambling. I recently made a video on Yada, which was a fintech, which is a complicated story. We've done a ton of work on here and here. But basically, the original pitch was a no-lose lottery, which gamified savings. Lots of YouTubers work with them, and they...
Dude, you just said you have a mountain of zinc cans behind you. The mountain of zinc cans behind me is unironically the perfect demonstration of how I regulate my vices. Okay? I have a mountain of zinc cans because, and this is not like a promotion of it or whatever, but like Zyn is a nicotine product. And before Zyn, I used to chew nicotine gum, and I still do, right? The reason why I did that is because I wanted to get off smoking cigarettes, and I was able to do so successfully. Do you understand? Like that is the perfect example of this. Tobacco is far worse than just straight nicotine. Even vapes that give you straight nicotine are far worse than the chewable version of the product or the lip pouches. So it is a perfect demonstration of how I do actually regulate my vices. I try to limit it to the least consequential, to the least damaging version of it. I never said that I actually don't have any vices whatsoever. I have plenty of addictions. I have a very addictive personality. Nicotine is a tame vice. I doubt very many rich people limit vices to nicotine. Wait, what? Your addiction is pumping iron. I mean, that's also true. I have a very addictive personality, and a long time ago, I realized that like I should focus my addictions on things that actually advance and improve my life. Okay? Like I purposely lean into my addictive personality when it comes to, working out, working in general, live streaming in general, when you think about that. These are things that improve my living standards. Addicted to burping into the mic? Sure. Working out, eating healthy, streaming. These are things that I focus on rather than the easier vices that, alcohol or eating poorly, gooning, things of that nature. What was the brand you smoked? Marlboro Reds, Cowboy Killers. Even in certain instances, gaming. Like gaming has fucked my life up too. Remember Grand Theft Auto roleplay? Yeah, abusing Kaya. That's another one. Another addiction that I have is abusing my dog.
Acted like a bank, at least at first, until they switched their new business model to be about allowing you to gamble inside the app and lose money, essentially becoming a casino within what is essentially a bank account. Now, I should actually note that Yada recently shut down the banking side and have fully focused on the sweepstakes casino part. I guess it's a more profitable business, but it's a sign of the times that everyone is moving their app more towards gambling, and finance is going the same way. On August 19, 2025, the investing app Robinhood announced they are bringing sports betting prediction markets to their app. In the announcement, the vice president of Robinhood claimed sports betting was a, quote, no-brainer, as we aim to make Robinhood a one-stop shop for all your investing and trading needs.
Yeah. What is a better investment than sports betting? Oh my God.
AKA, we noticed people were leaving to other apps. We don't like that. We'd like you to never leave our app. Now, ironically, the very next day, FanDuel, a sports betting app, announced they were bringing stock market betting to their customers.
But I will ask you about what some call the...
Alrighty, this seems like you're full of shit. I quit nicotine because I found I was using it to treat my ADHD off-label. Then I got on serious meds and I worked through it. A vice is a vice. Adding a moral weight based on potential harm seems like justifying it. Just own that you like how nicotine feels. Wait, what? That is the reason why I'm continuing to use Zins or chewable nicotine. What? Nicotine gum. And you switch to pouches because you're health conscious rather than I'm 5D Galaxy Brain Boy who's engaging in harm reduction framework. Wait, what? You just unironically described something that I also describe, but in a contentious way, in like a super rude way. I just described exactly this same process. I don't know if you recall, but I just said I have no issue with vices. Like I don't have an issue with vices. I don't know why you got so mad at this. And while there is still harm, there is still a trade-off to consuming nicotine products. The trade-off is far less consequential and far less bad than just straight up blasting cigs. I wasn't trying to say that I'm morally superior in any way, shape, or form. Very odd. They unfollowed? What? No. That's crazy. They got that mad? Can't win them all, I guess.
Gamification of markets. Why this move? Why FanDuel? Why now?
For us to have a partner like FanDuel and be able to have 14 million accounts on day one, I'm not becoming a casino, contrary to popular opinion. I didn't buy a casino. These are markets that will be offered to the general public and we think is massively exciting.
I've been in the meme coins and crypto space. It's always the influencers that make the money and the retailers and that get the short end of the stick. I'd stick to options due to liquidity. At least you don't get gape. Yeah, he's still here. He didn't unfollow. Okay.
What it could do.
And you couldn't have a more perfect image of how finance is embracing the casinos and vice versa. Actually, correction, you can have a more perfect image because after I wrote this, the New York Stock Exchange's owner invested $2 billion into Polymarket. So actually, this is the perfect image of where we are. And a result is a lot of young people now see the stock market as kind of more like a betting market. The most popular group on Reddit is personal.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. The stock market is kind of like the betting market. It always has been. It's not. I mean, it is. Especially sports betting, where there is fundamentals that you can apply, even though ultimately probability is still going to dictate the outcome. There are still fundamentals that you can lean into.
Finance with about 21 million followers. In second place, Wall Street Bets, where gambling on the stock market is embraced and celebrated.
There's also aspects of the stock market that are damn near identical as well to sports betting. But yes, I know people, when I say stock market, some people think long-term investments that you're making into reliable stocks or, I don't know, numerous other like low-risk options. And that's not what I'm talking about when I say this. Okay, I don't fully agree with casinos and sports betting. The goal of those running the show is for you to win as little as possible. In stock trading, the people who run it benefit when your value goes up. Yes. I don't think low risk at all. No, there are lower risk investments as opposed to higher risk investments. But the aspect of the stock market that's like closely resembling the aspect of the stock market that closely resembles like gambling is basically like day trading and shit. But also you're thinking of like blue chip, parking some of the money that you have into a lower risk fund that you're never going to take anything out of. Like that's not, that's there is still an aspect of probability there, but it's far, far different than, just putting money on red. Putting money on any game whatsoever that is specifically designed to weigh the house, like weigh in favor of the house in a long enough timeline.
It grew the most during the meme stock craze of 2020, which shifted how some people thought about investing. Instead of being driven by earnings, prices, or fundamentals, people gambled on memes, attention, and vibes. People are chasing bigger returns and taking on bigger risks to do so. One measure of this is the amount of debt people are taking out to invest. Margin debt is at an all-time high of $1 trillion, which even on an inflation-adjusted basis is near all-time highs and up 5x over the last few decades. Not only that, the rapid growth of zero-day options by retail traders is also a telltale sign. It's grown 5x in volume over 5 years, showing that people are trying to gamble more. Zero-day options are the stock trader equivalent of red or black at the casino. Fast action, massive wins or losses on a single day. But if the stock market is America's casino, then meme coins are basically the back alley bookie who will break your legs. Bigger price swings, faster action. Meme coins are even more degenerate.
Okay, this is a perfect example. Dude, I should have just kept the video playing. He just described it perfectly.
Than meme stocks and pump and dump usually within a single day. Among the people who trade these, pump.fun is the leading destination as the one-click launchpad. Anyone can make a meme coin in seconds, and there is no value in it other than the expectation that someone might be more foolish than you and buy at a higher price than you did. And of course, Pump.Fun is happy to take a cut and make most of the money. Most traders will lose, but now you can also get a cut if you're a content creator who pushes one of these coins. We've seen the same thing from launchpads.
There's an inherent difference, though. On principle, you're investing in a company, or that's how it used to be. Your investment is supposed to help the company improve. Before the financialization of the economy, it was good for society. I think we could have figured out a better funding vehicle for these companies in general, or at least focused when we had a better opportunity to do so, at least focused on this reinvestment in a more democratic fashion. We are very, very far past that point, by the way. And even in its inception, there were many market crashes, very famous ones. But we're so far removed from that point. I mean, normal things that happen nowadays, normal things that happen with companies nowadays that you can literally see with your own two eyes that actually improve the fucking the stock value of a company, like the value of a company that genuinely is harmful to the economy. It happens all the time. Whether it be stock buybacks or whether it be fucking mergers and acquisitions and the subsequent layoffs that come about it. Like, there are so many examples where, like, well, stock performance is doing great, but overall, the consequences for the real economy, the economy that you actually live in, is devastating.
Like Meteora, they allow creators to have a split of some of the trading fees, and it kind of democratizes the grift. Now, anyone can farm their followers and fans for money. You don't have to be particularly sophisticated, and that's actually how Trump made millions of dollars in fees with Trump meme coin without ever selling. He just farmed the fees. And to be clear, this money doesn't magically appear. It's being siphoned away from regular people who mostly lose. It creates a sad ecosystem where most creators are racing to the bottom for attention to get their audiences to pump their worthless coins, leading to a predictable spiral where most are scamming, rage baiting, or otherwise trying to shock each other into becoming the biggest grift of the day.
You said, wait, I don't understand. If gambling is a commodification of hope, don't you think that a true socialist society would abolish gambling? No. The point is not that you're enjoying a game. The point is that that game is taking away your earnings and ruining your fucking life and pushing you further and further into a deep pit of despair. The example I will use is like, I mean, there's like mini risks and mini games that people have always fucking enjoyed, even in their communities, right? Like you just sit around and you play a game, and in order to make the odds, or in order to heighten the intensity of the game, you just put money on it or something, right? Not sure if you'll see, but can you explain why mergers lead to layoffs? They call it eliminating redundancy. Once a merger takes place, now you got two people from two separate companies doing the same job. Usually, one of those guys needs to go. What the fuck?
Thanks for the 20 bandos.
It's ripping.
What?
If you've ever heard of a zero-sum game where someone has to win for the other one to lose, meme coins are negative sum because of all the trading fees. Most people, by definition, will lose. The real winner, of course, is pump.fun and people pushing it. According to one analysis, they've generated revenues of over $800 million for themselves, while...
Whenever you look at this kind of like despicable behavior, turn enough stone and underneath you will find Nazis, okay? You look at all this degeneracy and you start turning some of these stones, and under one of those stones you'll always find a fucking Nazi at the heart of it.
Almost none of the traders
least racist kick streamer
made significant profits. According to one analysis, 0.4% of all traders will ever make over $10,000. So almost no one. And look, the reason we're going through all of this is to explain the many ways that gambling is no longer just about slots, cards, brick and mortar casinos. We've injected it into every conceivable aspect of our lives. And that has two effects. One, it's inescapable. You cannot avoid gambling by avoiding Vegas anymore. It's literally everywhere. And then two, it's also harder to understand and study because most researchers are studying like casinos, sports betting, but so much of gambling is not that anymore. So as we get to the numbers of this stuff, remember, everything's gonna be an undercount. But it is still important to talk about those casinos, and that's where we're gonna shift now. Starting with the biggest trend that has happened for these casinos, and number two on our reason, which is sports gambling becoming legalized. Rewind the clocks for a second back to 2018 when the Supreme Court overturned a federal ban. At the time, basically you could only sports bet in Nevada, but after this, you can see in a few years, we've completely flipped on the issue. Most states now allow sports betting, and along with that, the advertising budgets for these companies is absolutely enormous. DraftKings, FanDuel, Underdog, Prize Picks, they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars getting celebrities and influencers to push their product every year, and man, has it worked. As I'm writing this, the #1 sports app on the App Store is not sports, it's not ESPN. ESPN and the NFL are second and third. The #1 sports app is actually DraftKings. And in the top 10, half of those apps are sports betting, which is insane. There are two reasons for this. Obviously, one, hundreds of millions in advertising, but the second is what are called inducements, which is when these apps will incentivize players to download them and place a bet, sometimes literally offering what seems like free money.
He's got an NFL offer.
Don't play with me.
Just turned $5 into $150 in bonus bets.
New customers bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win.
New customers get risk-free bets up to $2,000.
Now look, the reason casinos do this is kind of obvious. If they can make you place one bet, they're more likely to place the second, third, and 100th. But even setting aside the fine print of these weird offers, does it not strike anyone else as weird that we're allowing gambling companies to give away free stuff? Imagine the cigarette industry told you, buy your first pack, get 50 free packs free to get you started. Imagine.
Yeah, I mean, first hit is free, baby. That's the drug dealer. That is quite literally the drug dealer method. Something to consider. I wonder why. Yeah.
Budweiser said, shotgun one, they'll send you a case for fun. It's insane. And yet, that's exactly what these sports betting apps are doing. It's the lifeblood of how they get new players. And once you're in, these apps will also cater to their biggest players, biggest losers, called VIPs. They will send them gifts as they spend their life savings. And there have been multiple lawsuits actually about this. And to make it worse, if you do the opposite and you actually win too much on these apps, they will try to limit your betting, as one investigation found.
If you show any real ability to effectively handicap a game and beat the sportsbook, they will limit your bets and essentially kick you out of the sportsbook. They will not let you win.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how sportsbooks treat you once you start winning?
They don't want to accept your bets.
Yeah, it turns out the casinos actually hate the exact player that's featured in all of their advertisements, the guy who actually wins too much money. Which is actually so crooked when you think about it, that if you're one of the few people who achieves what they're promoting, they actually don't want you. Now, as I was writing this story, another massive scandal actually broke in the sports betting world, which is even more corrupt than not allowing winners.
But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years.
That's right. The FBI just exposed a massive sports rigging scheme that was using these apps to win money on rigged basketball games. One example of this was March 23rd, 2023, when an NBA player, Terry Rozier, told a friend ahead of time that he was going to go out early on a foot injury. And so that night, $200,000 in bets were placed on his underperformance because no one else knew that he was injured. And a few minutes after Terry kind of limping around, he left the game and the bets paid off. A few days later, Terry Rozier and his friend allegedly counted the money at his house from the fraudulent wagering scheme. And this was one of several rigged games the FBI alleged, but the media was quick to point out this isn't even the first time someone was caught doing something like this.
Jonte Porter, who played for the Toronto Raptors, has already pled guilty. He's already pled guilty. He's awaiting sentencing for doing just what Rozier and Jones are accused of. So this train has already left the station, Laura. And I have to tell you, when Jeff Teague, an NBA player, says, oh, there's betting everywhere, it is everywhere. I've done ads for DraftKings. LeBron James has done ads for DraftKings. In fact, ESPN, when they were reporting this story this morning, they're having programming, people talking just like you and me, talking about this scandal on the press conference the FBI was giving. And underneath them on the ticker was an ad for ESPN Bet, which is ESPN's own sportsbook.
Yeah, the irony of all of this is that the same people who condemn illegal betting going on are simultaneously pushing the sports books, which create the opportunity. And at some point, the producers on ESPN actually noticed it. And see if you can spot the moment they try to fix the sportsbook ad in the corner.
You hear a lot about legal sports gambling on this show. The Bussin' Boys, obviously, sports gambling is a huge part of what you do. So we put those all out there as a preamble because it might be in the back of people's minds, and we acknowledge that this is a different time and place. However, there is a fine line, not so fine. There is a bold line that obviously has to be drawn.
Well, that's a little awkward. You're actually supposed to remove the ad for sports betting before talking about sports rigging. And honestly, we've only hit the tip of the iceberg here because we've since learned these professional leagues are useless at catching this stuff. Turns out the NBA already investigated Terry Rozier before the FBI indictment for that exact game, and they cleared him because the NBA commissioner said there was insufficient evidence.
Ultimately concluded that there was insufficient evidence despite that aberrational behavior to move forward.
Right. So even with aberrational activity, they had the right game, the right guy, and the NBA couldn't find enough evidence. I mean, the more money that goes into sports betting, the more this will be a problem. And the leagues are clearly not equipped to handle it. But people just look the other way because the money's too good. And I want to now address the size of these betting markets because they're absolutely enormous in ways most people don't understand. And to get our heads around it, we're going to look at some survey numbers. One study estimates that 22% of all Americans and almost half of men my age have an online sports betting account. Another estimates that 1 in 4 people have placed a bet on sports and 1 in 5 have placed a bet in the last year. Like with all surveys, there's margins of error here, but the data mostly agrees. Sports betting is very widespread and extremely popular among young men. And for the ones who get addicted, it's financially devastating. One recent study looked at Americans' finances before and after sports betting was legalized by their state. They found that bankruptcy rates rise approximately 10% after legalization. Another paper looked at financial stability, noting that for households that do bet, they spend on average about $720 a year sports betting. And the study found that for every dollar someone deposits for betting, there's a reduction in net investments of just under $1. As people gamble more, they invest less, which means their financial future is worse. Makes sense. But this is especially true of problem gamblers or gambling addicts. To be clear, this is not something that affects all gamblers. Roughly 1% of the world population suffers from this. It's more common among people who bet regularly and bet online, two of the things that sports gambling encourages. Problem gambling completely obliterates people's finances and affects more than just the gambler because as they beg, borrow, or steal to continue their addiction, they affect everyone around them. And I do mean steal. Roughly half of gambling addicts will commit a crime, and most of those crimes are to continue gambling, often leading to a spiral where the addict doesn't see a way out, which is why problem gambling has one of the highest suicide rates of any substance addictions. Full stop.
I don't get it. You know none of this matters.
I didn't say criminalizing is good. I said regulation is good. This is why you have to regulate it severely. We're doing the opposite. We're allowing it to expand. We're allowing to create a system of ease of access for people to do it wherever they want on the shitter.
Matters, right?
Yeah.
You tried this before with Roobet, CS2, and it did nothing.
Yep.
No, literally, I mean nothing. Absolute silence. All the moralizing, the anti-gambling. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Let me tell you a story. A year ago, I was offered $20,000 to do a video by casino. Now, I said no and made a whole series about it, but what I didn't tell you is that later I was offered $1 million to cover my legal fees in an ongoing case. Now, this was offered by a person who said they wanted to remain anonymous, no strings attached, very nice person. They said they wanted to just help out. Sounds great. But then I found out the money was coming from a sports betting company. They were one of the top people, and that's obviously a dilemma for me. I am publicly against gambling, and here this person's kind of privately telling me, well, gambling can pretty much solve all my problems. Pay my legal fees, you know, they're telling me, oh, their company's regulated, it's fine, it's above board. Ultimately, I had to say no. Thank you for the offer, but, you know, in my head, there's no such thing as $1 million, no strings attached. And, you know, obviously, I also can't take $1 million from a sports betting company and then go make a video criticizing sports betting. But it gave me pause and kind of gave me an aha moment that I was missing before, where I started to understand exactly how screwed we.
It wasn't entrapment because he probably hadn't done a lot of critical videos on sports betting at the time. Because, for example, I'll tell you right now, there's mad people in Vegas that fucking love my shit because I have taken the task stake.com, right? Why would people in Vegas like that I am very anti-online gambling? Well, because obviously the ready availability of online gambling and unregulated cryptocurrency-based casinos is competition. And the same goes, I'm willing to bet for that guy. That's probably what happened.
Are. And this goes into our third reason gambling is winning. The casual way these casinos can throw around life-changing money for any normal person is why the data will never fix this. It's why having enough
Oh my God, what an amazing dude. Oh my God. It's such a fucking breath of fresh air to see someone like, it feels so fucking lonely, dude. It feels so goddamn lonely to just like constantly talk about this shit and be inundated with like the most vicious fucking smears, which I think make other people think twice about ever being critical of this kind of stuff, especially because there is such a heavy financial incentive to either shut the fuck up or literally take the bag. I'm so happy that Coffeezilla is like is one of those people who is actively speaking out against this, even though there is not even a stigma associated with it any longer. I think like there's not even the social stigma. I feel like there was a social stigma initially, maybe like a decade ago, or especially like 5 years ago or whatnot. But nowadays there is no social stigma associated with it at all. And that's partially because they threw the bag at enough people that they normalized it. That's what I was talking about, like Saudi Arabia sports washing. If there is enough money, these forces will inevitably make their way. They will inevitably make their way into normal society by just basically paying for it, by paying for the PR.
Facts about addicts or interviewing people whose lives were ruined will not change things. Believe me, I've done it and it's never moved the needle. To be honest, it's not even debatable that gambling is kind of bad for most people and life-destroying for a few. Even the industry kind of admits that. But the reason gambling is everywhere in spite of that is there is too much money in the game benefiting the people that make the final decisions, right? Think about the states with tax revenue, the casino profits, the influencer payouts. There's a small group that gambling is incredible for. So incredible, it basically defies logic. I'm talking billions of dollars in profits. And if you want to understand why gambling is everywhere, you can't just look at the statistics. You have to look at the money. And I want to show you exactly how this works with an example. This is Matthew. He's better known online as Nadeshot, and recently he took a gambling deal with an offshore crypto casino. And when he first talks about the deal, I want you to notice it's a little strange. He almost seems hesitant.
Boys, we just partnered with Rootbet, and before I say anything, don't gamble, okay? You will lose. I promise you, you're gonna lose. But that's why I partnered with Rootbet, so they can pay me to gamble. So even when I lose, I'm still gonna lose.
Yeah, it's pretty weird to hear someone say, don't gamble, guys, while announcing a partnership.
It's not weird. That's the Trainwrecks method. That Trainwrecks paved the fucking way with that. He literally paved the goddamn way with that, man. As the train strat. Yeah, I have it. I have the, yeah, I mean, there's the spam. Get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I still have a card that I carry with me in my fucking wallet. Where is it? Where's my Trainwrecks card? I literally carry this shit with me everywhere I go, bro. It's not even a joke. Wait, where the fuck did it go? Oh my God. Did I lose it? No. I need to get it laminated, honestly. It's been years, dude. I have had this card in my wallet for years. When I go to Las Vegas, the first time I ever made money at Las Vegas was when I fucking actually tried to do what is it called? The slots. Something I never actually took enjoyment out of because I think it's just like it's not something I can touch. There's no tactile, there's no tactile reward at all. So I don't really fuck with slots like that. But the only time I've ever made money in Vegas was when I would hit the slots with the Trainwrecks card on top of the button. But yeah, straight up, there's colors, sounds, and shit. It's great. Nah, it's not for me.
With a gambling company, Nadeshot implies that he may lose money, but in fact, he later admits that it's the most money he's ever been paid.
This is the biggest partnership that I've had in my entire career.
No, instead, I think the hesitancy, the weirdness of this video is because Nadeshot knows pushing gambling is kind of bad for people. He said so in a podcast a couple years ago.
I definitely think that people streaming on Twitch, all the crypto betting, certainly incentivizes younger kids to be more interested in crypto gambling. Like, I know personally people that should not have been gambling online, but because it's so easy to gamble with crypto, they did it when they could not afford to do it, and it has not worked out well for them.
Right. Nadeshot knows personally it's bad. But for the reason why he's doing it anyways, just fast forward 2 minutes in the podcast and we find out, because the host asks, a hypothetical. What if someone offered Nadeshot $100 million to promote gambling? And well, let's just say his tone changed.
I ain't turning down $100 million, bro. You got me fucked up, brother. I'll go on there and I will crypto gamble 24/7, dude. At that point, man, it's the parents' fault. Hey, I'm just working over here. You're going to pay me more than LeBron? Brother, I would be lighting up, cash on fire, gambling crypto. I would sell my soul for 100 M's. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
We should clip this. We should send this over to Kate.
I won't sleep. I will be your workhorse. You want me to pump blue chews and crypto gambling? I will do it all. You got me fucked up. Them kids, dude. Fuck them kids.
Look, I'm just going to say, you can say he's wrong for saying that. He's a bad person for saying that. But the reality is, this is why gambling is winning. The casinos have so much money, they are buying people's souls. Even people who kind of admit gambling's kind of bad. Put enough money on the table, and Nadeshot says, hey, fuck them kids. And by the way, speaking of fucking them kids, let's talk about Drake.
W's in the shot.
Yep. One of the biggest unending, unlimited fucking torrent of mass smears that I have received has come from the company that Coffeezilla is talking about right now. Let's be real, 99% of leftists would do it. Dog, you are literally talking to a leftist who did not do it. Fuck you mean? I love that when people go, oh, you're rich already. Dog, who the fuck do you think the people who take these gambling deals are? You think it's fucking no-name motherfuckers with like 8 people in their audiences? No, it's the top fucking content creators on the platform, dingus. Like, you're literally talking about Drake. The motherfucker has a goddamn actual commercial-sized airplane for himself. XQC Trainwrecks, like, what do you mean? Oh, you're rich already. It's like, yeah, that's the reason. Yeah, because famously, you know what rich people love? Not making more money. You guys are so fucking stupid. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, you're not wrong. It's much easier for me to say no to this shit. Except these are the kinds of people that they're giving money to. They're not giving it to fucking regular Tom, Dick, and Harry with like 13 people watching. These are already rich people. That's the whole point. It's so funny because it goes back to the same cynicism that I always talk about. It goes back to the same cynicism. It's like, oh, well, it's easy for you to do. Yeah, easier for me than you. But they're not giving you $100 million, brother. They're not offering you tens of millions of dollars. You know? Also, on top of that, the people that they're giving contracts to are wealthier than I am to begin with. So they extra don't need it. They're just doing it because they weigh out the repercussions, not the moral ones. I don't think they give a shit about that much. but they weigh out the potential backlash that they could receive from their audiences. And over the years, they realize like there is no backlash. It doesn't fucking matter. You just slot yourself into this comfortable part of the internet and you just pump right-wing shit all the way, all the time. And then you basically retrain your audience to be more open-minded to this sort of thing. You either develop a new one and you get who you can get from your audience, right? You get who you can get from your audience to get on board, and then the rest will come regardless. But you just create like a unbreakable system where like no one will ever give you shit for it because they know you're kind of a piece of shit, right? Like it's fine. There's comfort in that. There's safety in that. And oftentimes just leans into like right-wing politics in general. I'm not talking about Drake in general here, but it's just like.
It isn't just streamers or influencers taking deals. It's the biggest rapper on the planet. He signed a reported $100 million deal recently with Stake, the crypto casino, which is wild. There's really no endorsement deals like that anywhere else that hit those kind of numbers. And just like Nadeshot, Drake wants you to know that, even though he's taking the money, gambling isn't for everyone. Recently, he posted an $8 million loss, saying, gotta share the other side of gambling. Now, maybe some of you think that's brave, but to me, I see that and go, Drake, that is the only side of gambling for most people. If any normal person lost $8 million, their life is over and their legs are broken. You're the only one with another side to this whole thing. Where, to be clear, that other side is reportedly getting paid $100 million. And to be clear, like, it's a lot of people taking these deals. I'm not trying to single anyone out. Let's also take Kevin Hart, right? One of the world's smallest comedians. He pushes DraftKings. And this one I find really bizarre.
Do me a favor, man. Go to the DraftKings app. Look at what I'm betting on. Look at why I'm betting on. Place your bets. All the action is here. DraftKings, Kevin Hart.
I'm not even going to ask why Kevin needs you to get on DraftKings and bet. Like, the fact is he's worth a reported $450 million. But the real thing I find so gross about this is that Kevin Hart has gone on podcasts.
Well, yeah. I hope the chatter that was saying, oh, easy for you to do, you're rich, realizes that the people that get the fucking big bucks are even far richer than I ever could be. Big dog. Fuck do you mean? Bro, if you were about to go to New York City election, why the fuck did you come back to LA for a couple days? Privilege much, shaking my head.
And talked about the need for financial literacy. He talked about this on Joe Rogan.
The biggest problem within our community is knowledge. We don't know. Debt is welcomed because it's celebrated. That's all we know. The knowledge isn't given. So it's not till you obtain that knowledge and understanding that you go, oh, this is why you put money up. This is how you increase versus decrease. Oh, this is how you earn on your money. Oh, wow. I can gain wealth by investing in what? The stock world is what? How many people partake in the stock world? And is there a part that isn't necessarily gambling? Is there a low risk part? The information isn't there.
Yeah, Kev, maybe the information isn't there on the stock market part, which isn't gambling, because you're too busy telling them about actual gambling. Understand that Kevin Hart is not just a guy who sometimes talks about it on podcasts either. He has a whole partnership, an actual partnership with Chase Bank, where they ran a campaign to improve financial literacy. But then Kevin goes on the side and he's pushing DraftKings, which preys on people's financial illiteracy. And while we're talking about small comedians with big bank accounts, let's talk about Joe Rogan too. And listen, I'm not trying to be high and mighty with all this stuff. I know it sounds a bit like that, but believe me, I am eye level with these guys, okay? I'm very short too. You can't tell behind the $10 million studio desk, but no offense is intended here. We got to discuss though, how the biggest comedians in the world, biggest, smallest comedians, are pushing DraftKings. Didn't Joe get a $250 million deal from Spotify? I didn't realize before this video, like, how many gambling ads he has been running recently. In the month of September alone, there were 11 DraftKings ads in 14 videos. And with Joe especially, it's weird because he's the guy who rants against Big Pharma's manipulative advertising.
If you can advertise, you can.
Like, I'll be honest, like, the only exception that I give to situations like this is if you're, like, directly in the, if you're, like, an up-and-comer, or if you're directly in, like, the commentary sphere of the sports side, where, like, you have to sit in front of a fucking studio that has the DraftKings logo in front of it, or ESPN sports betting logo in front of it, and you just don't have any control over it, right? Obviously, Joe Rogan is a little bit different. Like, there is, do you see what I mean? Like, I don't think, like, Jamel Hill has any say over what gets placement on the broadcast that she's on, right? Like, that's the difference. Like, there's a lot of people who are, like, employees or people that want to break into, you know, the sports commentary side or whatever. Like, that's it. There's also people who just, like, objectively don't give a shit. Like I said, I've given up. I've given up on trying to prosecute this kind of stuff. I will admit that. Like, I tried to go after the edge cases. I try to go after, like, the edge cases, but, like, sports betting, while I find it to be completely a cancerous influence, to completely have a cancerous influence on American society, you will not catch me consistently talking about it. And the reason for why I will not consistently talk about it or constantly fucking attack people over it, and this was a point of contention that was literally brought up in the crypto casino gambling saga, for the old heads that remember, for the real ball knowers. Even back then, I said, this is virtually impossible to deal with. If you go back, look at my videos from, like, whenever we were talking about stake. One of the counter examples that was often utilized by Trainwrecks and many others and XQC, all these people, was like, well, what about sports betting? There's sports betting on this platform. And I was like, look, I don't like that either, but there is virtually nothing I can do about that, you know? Nothing at all. And nowadays I feel like everything is impossible to fight against.
And manipulate people and change their opinion based on theatrics.
So many. Everyone gets a free bet. We all want to win. Hey, let's win together.
You know what to do.
You have music and people dancing and holding hands and spinning around in a wheat field. Like, that is so manipulative. And we are subject to manipulation. And when it's something that is so important, like making critical health decisions, there's so many of these commercials. Like,
I mean, it's so funny because this is one of those weird things where Joe Rogan is not wrong, both in the principle of advertising and propaganda, and specifically as it pertains to brand drugs, right? Not generics, but like recognizable brand name drugs. Except the reason why he's shitting on the drug advertisement is because he's like anti-medicine. You know what I mean? Like, he's not wrong. America is one of the few countries, I think, if not one of the only OECD countries, where you can just, like, do ads for drugs in general, because all these other countries have some semblance of socialized medicine, and therefore you do mass purchases. The government mass purchases the drugs, and pharmacare is either largely regulated or entirely in the hands of the government. So the United States of America, like, so there's no incentive for these pharmaceutical companies to do televised ads in general. But, you know, it's just devastating.
So many times I'm watching television, I'm like, how many goddamn drug commercials are there?
By the way, I agree with them. We are being manipulated, but change a few words from that rant, and you could say the exact same thing about how gambling is pushed. Casinos are also manipulative. They don't advertise the actual reality where people lose. Instead, they say things like winning, cashing in, opportunity. And Joe Rogan's a part of that.
Every game is another chance to cash in. Don't just watch the action, win with it. Every snap is loaded with opportunity.
That is just as manipulative as pharma ads pushing pills that may end up addicting you. In both cases, the collateral damage are the addicts we created along the way. And I guess I have to ask, maybe people think, oh, one's worse than the other. Is there that much of a difference between a drug addict and a gambling addict? No, really, I'm asking.
It's like if you see the drug addict, you see him, he's shooting up or whatever it is, and you see him fainting, you go, oh, that poor bastard. But when you see a guy who's fully in the grips of gambling, trying to figure out how to get his money back, and he's all jazzed up with adrenaline, he doesn't understand why.
It's just like cocaine, it's just like drug abuse, it's just like the opiate problem, it's just like anything else. It could you and I both know people who have lost their lives gambling. Okay, you've seen people in pool halls. You see how they get, Joe Rogan. Man. There's no difference in the drug addict and the gambling addict. Not at all. No difference.
So there is no difference. Then why do we shake our head at the Sackler family and pharmaceutical execs who push pills that ruin people's lives, but somehow nobody cares we're doing a very similar thing with gambling? At every level of society.
No, it's worse. Objectively. Because, like, while the Sackler family they're horrifying monsters, like, medicinal fentanyl still exists. Like, there's still medical grade pharmaceuticals that are absolutely necessary for pain relief. Like, that's not, there is a use for it. And while I am in favor of allowing vices to continue, I am in favor of allowing vices to continue. Like, there is no, I would say, medical necessity, for example, or like life-saving necessity for gambling as opposed to the pharmaceuticals, no matter how addicting they may be.
We are shoving this down people's throats. And it's not that I mind if people gamble individually, but we are pushing it on people who otherwise would not have done it, because everything is gambling now, from sports to entertainment to investing. It is totally inescapable, and we're moving the casino from Vegas directly into people's pockets, connecting to their bank accounts. I don't know exactly how this is going to end, but it doesn't take a genius to see where it's going to lead. Gambling is going to be a much larger problem for people, and especially young men. And the saddest part is there's no amount of data or facts that I can give you that's going to stop that. There's just too much money at stake.
Yep. Regarding online sports books that are winning cash on sports, we currently work with Prize Picks. Between us, I enjoy betting very mildly on sports. It makes the games more fun. I'm also aware of the risks you can pose, though. Probably not very knowledgeable because I haven't had those same exact issues. We make sure to follow guidelines from our sponsors, though it's worth being more intentional about emphasizing those risks to listeners. I feel like the podcasting space, there's a decent amount of regulation in our ad reads, and I try to remember to advise our listeners that gambling may not be right for them, but I do often forget to do that, to be honest. Nelk, Kyle, Salim, and Steiny only affiliate themselves with legal platforms like Prize Picks and play by the rules.
Hey, come back to the bar and let me fix you a drink. The weather isn't changing anytime soon.
You know, all it would take is basic advertising rules or legislative change to put a stop to half of this stuff.
That's the thing. Money makes the world move, Coffee. And the people who write the rules like them just the way they are.
My goat. Fucking Goatzilla, dude. He's so awesome. This is going to become more and more of a problem. And I think... I don't know. I just don't think there's any solution to it. It is a money printer, okay? And when you have something that is a money printer, it would be like if when we first figured out the extraction of oil from the ground, you know, petroleum. Like when we first figured out that that was going to be devastating for mankind, And then we were like, hey, maybe we should think about this. Maybe we should think about this. This is really fucked up. But then obviously, it didn't matter because we were like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's a tremendous amount of money to make here. And gambling, just like with the oil and gas industry, for example, especially when there's like, with the oil and gas industry, at least there's like there is a reason for why it is a necessity for the explosive growth of technology and all the stuff, right? Whereas with gambling, it's just like a pure vice and it's just for fun and it's just for entertainment, but it's very addictive. I think gambling in and of itself is going to turn into the exact same thing that we're seeing with the oil and gas giants, right? Like people will just go, well, no, this was initially an opportunity to create tremendous wealth, but also at the same time, it's just a part of normal existence, and there's nothing you can do about it, no matter how devastating the impact of it might be. And that's the same future I see with gambling. We will never have. I just don't foresee a future where these companies, especially with the current loose regulations or the lack of regulations that make even more money, are ever going to turn around and recognize that they are creating tremendous pain and allow the current governments to take action against them, any sort of regulatory action against them. I think if cigarettes were invented today, we would have never made it illegal to make doctors promote it on television and also tell people that it was good. Genuinely. Because there was a time when people would like market cigarettes, right? And then, I don't know, there was a lot of advocacy groups that decided, hey, maybe that's not such a positive thing. Seems like there are a lot of ailments. Seems like there are a lot of side effects here. Sure, makes you look cool. And goddamn, does it make you look cool? I'll be honest. Oh, here, look at this.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good-tasting a cigarette can be.
Nothing. Isn't it crazy? Yeah, I love thank you for smoking. That's how I feel, by the way. Look at Coffeezilla's face. That's me every day.
Do you really think it's worth all of this, though? Like, just for a little more money?
Hey, you said it yourself, didn't you? It's not just a little money.
So, like alcohol? What are you talking about? Is there fucking advertisements of doctors on television being like, alcohol is good for you? 9 out of 10 doctors of all different backgrounds in medicine suggest Bud Light. Like, the fuck do you mean? No, but it is really normalized and cause a lot of harm. I know, brother. I know. I don't drink like that anymore, you know? I know. I didn't say we should prohibit smoking. I wasn't in favor of smoke prohibition either, cigarette prohibition either. And nor am I for alcohol. Just heavily regulated. That's it.
Money. It's a lot more money. People would sell their soul for $100 million. Well, imagine what they do for billions.
You don't drink, you don't smoke. Are you a fucking loser? Yes. Literally. Yes.
You know, maybe it is time for that drink.
You're gonna tip this time, right?
My goat, my goat, my goat. Great video. Ooh, it's crazy to me that we don't let professional athletes bet on sports, but we let politicians invest in the stock market. Incredible take. That's awesome. Technically, that's also illegal, for the record. I think what's really interesting about this stuff, by the way, is that like when you call it out, you're seen as a smarmy, no fun type of person. And like even by the attitude of you know, other people's fandoms and whatnot, like there is a negative association with you because you're like, oh, you're a joy killer, you're woke scold. And if you have for example fans, like if you have a shit ton of fans, right? And you want to do gambling sponsorships, and then and then there's like some fucking asshole out there being like, that's fucked up, that's not good. You're actually causing a lot of damage to your audience. You're just like farming them for a price that you don't even need, like for money that you don't even need. You already have more money than God. What the fuck are you doing? Then they just spent their entire fucking lives coming after you. They spend their entire goddamn lives coming after you, and then their communities don't even realize, even if they agree with you down the line, they still don't realize like why they hate you. They can't put two and two together. They don't know that they hate you because their favorite content creator at the time was negatively framing everything against the one guy who was like, don't do that. That's bad. Even if former fans of said content creator inevitably also realize maybe it was bad, but they just never let you live it down because people don't remember what you said. They just remember how you made them feel.